Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here. I hope you're ready for a two-part story that is going to blow your socks off. I absolutely love this story to pieces. Asha, Brightleaf's Curse, Part 1. Greetings, MrRipper. I've been an avid listener of the channel for almost a year now. I'll often put on a video and autoplay and fall asleep to the many stories you tell. And today, I thought maybe I could contribute to them. This was something I wrote for fun in relation to one of my favorite characters that I'm currently playing in a very close friends campaign. It is quite on the long end, but sharing it with the DM and other friend, they said it was really well done. So I thought maybe I could share it here too. The story is written from the perspective of the character Asha, a half-drow, recalling the events of her past. I had written a paragraph of context at first, but after rereading the story before posting, I think it's more fun to go in blind and have things revealed as they happen. Do note, the potentially awkward grammar and structure of the writing, like excessive commas and ellipses, is to convey Asha's speech patterns. This campaign is done over text roleplay and Asha is quite shy, frequently pausing and stuttering while speaking. I was 7 years old when it happened, when I truly understood the danger of my curse. My mother would always correct me when I said that. She'd say, "Oh, sweetheart, don't call it that. I know you might want to think of it that way, but you're a strong, smart girl, and I'm sure with time you'll be able to have better control over things." And while now I don't exactly feel so strongly about it being a curse, I still feel like that's what it is, especially after what happened. It was before we moved to Stonehenge. It was the reason we moved to Stonehenge, I should say. Before that, we lived in Plenty Heart, me and Mum. We lived with Uncle Baram, and had ever since I was born. I don't really have many baby memories. Nothing specific, just being cooped up in the upstairs room, really. Not knowing anything about the world, not knowing that other people even really existed besides Uncle and Mum. She would take care of me, feed me, disappear sometimes, and then I'd feel lonely. But she'd always come back. She was just working downstairs was all. And eventually, when I was 5 or so, she gave me a ring. Nothing especially fancy. In fact, it probably couldn't really be considered jewelry. It was small, thin, and made of wood. It looked less like a proper ring and seemed more like someone had just bent a twig into a perfect circle and attached a small blue gem to it. When she slipped it on my tiny finger, the gem glowed softly, and my appearance changed. The dark color of my skin seemed to be slurped up by the ring, replaced with a soft, peach-like color. My white hair also became a wonderfully expressive light blue. I was amused and curious about it at the time, not realizing the importance of what had happened. My mum broke out in tears and lifted me up, hugging me tightly against her and saying, "It works! It works!" After that, I was allowed to finally leave that room I had been in all my life. My mom took me downstairs to the tavern. Uncle Baram always stood behind the counter, and strangers would be seated all around at tables. I started to learn lots of things because my mother started teaching me. And instead of before where she could only describe things, now she could bring me to them. Show me houses, grass, rocks, trees, little things. And I got to meet and see people, all kinds of different people. Tall people, small people, rough-looking people, gentle-looking people. Sometimes I think back about being such a small child, and I miss the innocence I had. Growing up sheltered like that never bothered me. Of course, I didn't complain when a whole new world was opened up for me. But with that new world came things I wish I had never learned, and rules that hadn't existed before. Whatever you do, never take your ring off. Okay, sweetheart? That was the most important rule. The one that could not be broken. I didn't know why, though. I knew that taking it off would make my skin turn pale, dark, and gray, but that didn't mean anything to kid me. That had no meaning. All people looked different. Sometimes there were little people that were green or slender people that were red. Colors were colors. I was just a toddler. But when asked, my mom never told me. She never explained why. She simply said that I could not take it off, that people would not like me if I took it off. The other rules were simple and more normal. Don't wander off, don't follow strangers, don't put random things in your mouth, etc. But no rule was as important as the ring rule. I knew that because my mother reminded me of it every time we left the house. There was also the issue of the magic, she had called it. She said sometimes I would cause strange things to happen. When she first told me this, I didn't exactly know what she was talking about. But moving forward, I started to notice it a bit too. Sometimes things I looked at would move or change color. Light around me would start to sparkle, or hazy images would appear suspended in the air, and each time the blue gem on my ring would ever so softly glow. Mom later told me that before the ring, sometimes dangerous things would happen. I would vomit up dangerous liquids. She'd come into the nursery and I'd be surrounded in webbing. She'd get sudden headaches that she knew were somehow my fault. While I didn't remember any of these things, I believed her because she was my mother. But after getting the ring, none of the things she had described happened again. She said that was part of why I could never take it off. I was still homeschooled, my mom bringing in books and things and teaching me whatever she could and whatever I asked when she wasn't working for Uncle Bahram. Bahram taught me things too, sometimes. He taught me about people, the world, the wilderness. While my mom taught me about more academic stuff, arithmetic, languages, history. When we would go to the market to buy foods, I would see other people with kids like me, and I wanted to talk to those kids. And I had asked her to teach me about other kids and people in the town like Uncle Bahram did. And while Mother was hesitant at first, never letting go of my hand when we were out, and not letting me talk to the other kids, she eventually did. The first kid I met was Toby. He was a bit older than me and had thin blonde hair and bright blue eyes like mine. His ears were round like Mum's, and my ears were the first thing he asked about. "Why are they pointy? Did you get hurt?" And while I was shy and scared at first, never having another kid approach me so eagerly, my mum helped me explain that it's because my dad was an elf, and so I was part elf. Toby thought that was cool. Toby's mom and my mum talked while Toby and I talked. Then after that, I talked to him every time Mum and I went to the market. One day, he showed up at Uncle Bahram's tavern looking for me and inviting me to come play. I didn't know what that meant, and my mother didn't let me go the first time. But the second time, she did. Bahram had frowned when she said no at first and convinced her that there was nothing wrong and that I should get to play with kids my age. Play meant running around town, catching each other, or sometimes kicking a pigskin around. Really, it was whatever Toby wanted to do, and I always eagerly and curiously followed his lead. Sometimes we would get in trouble by the guards, big men in big metal clothes. They'd tell us to stop causing ruckus or to get out of the places that we apparently weren't supposed to be in, like strange alleys or near other people's houses sometimes. And eventually, Toby brought someone else to play. Her name was Abitha. She was an elf like me, except both her parents were elves. She was not as energetic and didn't smile as much as Toby did, but she followed us around and played Toby's games alongside us. For a while, that's all things were. Homeschool with Mom and play with Toby and Abitha. Mom always reminded me of our important role, and I always nodded. Toby didn't have any jewelry, so it was something he asked me about early on in our friendship. My ring, I said that it was just something my mom gave me, because part of the rule was not telling people what it did. He just said, "It looks really pretty," and never asked about it again. When Abitha joined our little group, she had some proper jewelry, the silver kind. She said that her grandfather made it for her, and later shared with us a secret. "My grandfather is very old and very smart, and he has special magic that he can do. Sometimes the gods ask him for help because of his magic, because he can find people that they are looking for. He said that this ring would also help him find me if I ever got lost." She told us this proudly, and Toby, of course, was amazed. "Wow! My mommy doesn't do magic, but don't tell her I told you this, but she says her brother used to kill people as a job." Toby's secret wasn't very amazing to Abatha and I. "Does that mean your uncle is bad?" I asked. "Well, yeah, Mommy says he was bad and he got taken a long time ago because of his badness." Toby nodded his head, agreeing with his own statement. "What about you, Asha? Do you have any cool secrets?" Toby stared at me eagerly. I hesitated to say anything at first, just thinking and stuttering while fidgeting with my ring and looking to the ground. "Aw, come on, I know you do. Why can't you say? Me and Abatha said ours." He kept prying and urging me. "I agree. It's not quite fair," Abatha added a bit rudely. I didn't want my new friends to be upset at me. They never had before. I was suddenly scared that they wouldn't be my friends anymore if I didn't share my secret. Then they'd walk away and go look for some new kid with a secret to share. I was so innocent, and my worries back then dwarf my worries now. I started. My ring is also magic. It, changes my color." Abatha's eyebrows raised while Toby responded loudly. "What? No way it does! Come on, show us!" "No, my mom says I'm not supposed to," I said anxiously, once again looking to the ground. Abatha remained silent, but Toby urged me to show him. Feeling pressured and not wanting to disappoint Toby, I held up my hand and slid the ring off. Brian Von VA here, checking in after the vid as per usual. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell for whenever we make another post. And, of course, check out MrRipper, our main channel, which is going to be linked in the description below. And using a help action, again, you can come say hi to me, Brian Von VA, on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you for always listening in. Everyone, please be safe, be happy, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.